Welcome to Dumpster Diving, where we look at something horrible from the past. Today, Punky Brewster. In this episode, Henry, Punky's adopted father, takes her and her friends camping. The kids think this is a fun idea because it's the 80s, and we didn't have cell phones, or iPads, or tablets, or Xbox, or the internet, so we thought horrible things like camping sounded like a good time. Punky is accompanied by her friend Alan, who looks like he's an extra from the Village of the Damned, and Cheery, who for some reason is dressed like Luke Cage. Her friend Margot is also there, who plays the role of generic rich snob, and who doesn't really factor in the story in any way. Punky and her friends decide to go for a walk in the woods with her dog Brandon. Brandon spots a rabbit and chases after it. Eager to see the specter of death, the kids quickly follow. Luckily for the kids' innocence, apparently Brandon just wanted to chase after the rabbit so he could sit quietly next to it. As they walk, Punky comments on all the dead trees around them. The others dismiss it, but it soon becomes evident that they are lost. The kids ask Brandon to use his nose to find the camp. The dog takes off with purpose, only to lead them back to a cave they'd seen earlier. Alan decides he's sick of living and states he's going into the cave. None of the others want to, but Punky points out that her dad said to stick together, so they reluctantly follow. Inside the cave, there's already a fire burning and a drawing on the wall of 4 children and a dog. The hair color even matches the kids'. It's at this point that the kids should be running, terrified of whatever spirit has been stalking them, but instead they barely mention it before sitting down by the fire. Worried that the kids haven't returned yet, Henry and Sherry's grandmother go out looking for them. The director continues the horror movie motif by shooting the scene as if this is Friday the 13th. Back in the cave, Punky decides to tell a scary story because the one they're in is too tame for her twisted mind. And she says to them it reminds her of a story of 4 kids lost in a cave. Very creative. At this point, I'm pretty sure they just blew a lot of money on that cave set, and they wanted to get their money's worth. Before Punky can get too far, a group of Native Americans dressed in leftover costumes from a 1950s Western enter. The kids run in fear because they aren't armed with smallpox blankets and thus can't defend themselves. Punky holds up her hand and says,
"How do you do?"
The audience thinks this is hilarious. The natives explain that long ago, their land was barren and desolate because an evil spirit lived in the ground. A princess faced the spirit and banished it away, and life flourished. Now the spirit is back, and Punky is the only one who can stop it. Punky realizes that the spirit returning explains the dead trees. The children don't want to help, but Punky convinces them, and they venture deeper into the cave. They see a tomahawk lying next to a pool of dry ice. Punky wants to take it, but Cheery points out that it might belong to the evil spirit, so they leave it. Next, they come across a man who is violently rended into several pieces, proving that there is indeed a Saw villain in this cave. They talk to him for a minute and then continue on because they know that Dr. Gordon wants to play a game. Next, the kids come across a giant spider web covering the entire pathway. Instead of freaking out and wondering what kind of spider made such a huge web, they follow Brandon through a hole in the web. Only they must not have done a great job, because as soon as they're on the other side, a giant spider larger than any of the kids drops from the ceiling and gives them an acid trip before beginning to attack them. It jumps on Punky and she struggles to keep its fangs from plunging into her body. The other kids can't help because now they've fallen backwards and have been trapped in the web. That leaves Brandon, who charges the spider and starts biting its leg. Punky is able to get free and the tomahawk magically appears next to her. She grabs it and violently buries it into the spider's abdomen. After that, for no reason at all, Margot disappears into thin air. They call out for her, and a demon voice tells them that she's gone. They search around the cave for her, but then Alan disappears to rejoin the children of the corn. Soon Cheery disappears as well. Punky turns to Brandon for help, but he's become a giant mastodon skeleton. The voice tells Punky that she's all alone now. She replies that Henry will look for her. That's when the spirit shows her a vision of Henry sitting at the camp, deciding that raising kids is too expensive anyway, and he's not going to look for her anymore. The demon then tells Punky that he can show her Alan again, and he appears as a disembodied head in the cave wall. Margot drops down from the ceiling as a skeleton that still somehow has her head, but also just has a skeleton head, depending on what shot we're looking at. The demon then shows itself, and it's basically a human-shaped disco ball with fireworks effects surrounding it. The entity eggs Punky on by encouraging her to hate it for killing her friends. Punky then channels Nancy from A Nightmare on Elm Street and realizes that the best way to defeat it is to tell the thing that she's not afraid of it, and she doesn't feel hate, only love. Punky and the Care Bears, defeating evil with the power of love. It works, and the demon melts into the ground. We fade out, and we see that the whole thing was merely a story told by Punky. Though, considering the orphan's abandonment issues, the story is not so much scary as it is a disturbing indicator of how much she needs therapy. Henry finds the kids in the cave, and everything is fine. But you know what bothers me? Even after we go back to reality, that fire is still burning in the cave, and the picture of the kids is still on the wall. Who built that fire? Who drew an exact copy of the kids? Where is the damn demon stalker? Those questions are never answered, and the kids go on their merry way, somehow confident they won't be murdered in their sleep tonight. Thanks for joining us for Dumpster Diving. Please come back every Thursday for more episodes, and every Tuesday for deleted chapters from famous novels. Thanks again for watching. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment for us. We'll see you next time.